Alright gamers, well, I tried a couple ASMR videos. I don't know. Not really even really ASMR, just wasn't talking. Just packs. If you guys like those, more than me actually talking about the packs, let me know. I don't know what you guys like unless you tell me, so I'm just going to keep doing different stuff here. So, this box. What I'm thinking we're going to do is we're going to break this down into 6 different videos, and I thought I would change this up here by doing a sealed breakdown. And we're going to take 6 packs like you would in a sealed pool, and we are going to build a sealed deck out of the set. Yeah, so if you guys like watching me build sealed decks, let me know, because we can certainly get a lot more content out of each box, and not something I see too often here online. So yeah, let's go ahead and start. So say you're at your LGS or you're at an event or whatever, and you know, I'm just gonna, for this first one, I'm gonna do it like for someone who's never done a sealed pool. So what I recommend doing is first, let's just start by getting all the packs open. You know, it's always fun to see if you get anything, you know, awesome in terms of money, because, you know, always nice to get your stuff back. But really, for this video, I'm going to be more focused on sealed potential, really. So first thing we're going to do here is we're just going to sort by color, because that's really the first, one of each. First decision you've got to make when you're doing sealed, and then we'll do multicolored. It's a separate pile. Is really deciding, you know, how you want to get your deck built, and if you can't just always do a 5-color deck. It really depends a lot of the times on the set, if that's even compatible. From what I've seen promoting these packs, you definitely want to be going 2-color. You know, obviously it's okay to splash if you feel like you have some sort of, you know, awesome deck, and then in the last pack you realize, oh crap, I opened a Yawgmoth or something that's worth splashing, or some awesome removal spell or something. So the other thing that's really sweet about the set is these 2-sided cards is, you know, if you just really need Artifact Hate, you could just play that as a green spell. It doesn't have to be multicolored. Alright. I mean, obviously it's better if you do. Nice foil retro crawl space there. It's obviously better if you can play both halves of it, but that's not always how it works. Best being, because some of those 2-sided cards are definitely you know, better than others. Like this one, where you're changing the color of a spell, you're probably not too concerned about playing that side of the card. Alright. So we're still just sorting it out here. Always good to get some fixing here. I mean, these layers definitely do help splash a 3rd color. Definitely don't love having my lands get bounced when I play them, but sometimes it's worth it just to get fixing. Alrighty. And for the people that have built sealed decks with this so far, I mean, are you enjoying the format as sealed? From what I've heard, you know, a lot of people are really liking it as a draft format. It's definitely some powerful stuff going on in this set, and some doubles there. Oh my gosh. I don't know if that's good, but definitely some stuff where you can play with some more powerful cards than you normally would. Alright, we are going to need some big hitters here from our next 2 packs, because in terms of rares, I mean, nothing like incredibly crazy. Effect Fiction's always great. Wrath of God, there we go, that's a nice piece of removal. But board wipes aren't going to win you the game, so you do need something to win eventually. And if you guys, you know, if I don't find anyone who really is enjoying me watching me build sealed, then just let me know. You know, I'm doing this for you guys as much as I am doing it for myself. So just keep me posted on what works best for the both of us. Wow. All right. Don't have to worry about lands or tokens. It's obviously nice when you get the tokens you need, but all right. So Let's start by looking at our colorless cards. A lot of times it's nice to just find any auto includes because, colorless you could put in any deck. Crawl Space, I don't love. I mean, you typically don't want to be... I mean, this card doesn't get you any advantage, and this is really all it does is slow the game down. So unless you're playing Ultra Control and you need to stop like a token deck, I wouldn't be playing this. Maybe it's a sideboard card. Ornithopter, not great in this format. It's usually only good if like ninjas or if you have like affinity sets, which, not much of that in this. Mind Stone's alright. If you just really need ramp, it's okay. Juggernaut, I am a fan of. Just a 4 mana colorless card. It's okay. I mean, depending on your deck, if you really need something. And then Thran Golem is only really good if you have enchantments, obviously. Because if you can get this enchanted, a 5 mana, 5/5 flying first like trample is going to end games very quickly. But obviously, if you don't have at least 5 enchantments, you don't want to be playing that. So, not a great colorless start here. So now let's go ahead and look at anything multicolored that's really drawing us in. So, the first thing that I see here is we have 2 Zers, 2 Rakdos, a Boros, Gruul, and Bant. This Illusion in Reality is pretty terrible. The blue side you'll never cast, and 3 mana Shatter in a non-affinity, artifact theme set is not really what you want to be doing. So you can pretty much ignore that card as a sideboard slot. Pretty much, again, like the only thing I said we really want to care about for this is these 3. So these will go in the maybes or like sideboard slots. You can worry about that between games, but yeah. Thran Golem's more of a build around. Yeah. So I definitely don't hate these 2 red-black cards. The Lord effect is okay if you can get enough zombies, which we'll find out once we get to that. And then Pyre Zombie is great. It's a ton of value. 3 mana, 2/1. At the of your upkeep, if it's in your graveyard, you can pay 3 mana to put it back in your hand, and then you can replay it and sack it for 3 to shock. And so basically each turn you can pay mana to continually use it as a removal spell. So definitely pretty sweet. So if we can find enough red-black, that could pull us in. Double Zur. I mean, getting 2 of the same rares can be really good. But we need to be in these colors, and we also need to have a ton of cheap enchantments. So, we'll see. Orange Thunder, just basically a sideboard card. Again, in this type of set, you don't really want to be mainboarding artifact enchantment removal, even if it is, I don't know, there's just not enough. But we'll see. That could be playable as a sideboard card. Rada's alright. So we have red-green ramp, and then Arcades is basically just a 8 mana 7/7 flyer that you have to pay 3 every turn to keep. I don't know. It's just really slow, and this set's got a lot of high power stuff, so I don't love Arcades. I mean, if we end up in Bant, maybe we'd play if we have enough ramp. But nothing really exciting here in our multicolored stuff. So let's see if we have anything that really draws us into any of these colors. I'm going to be definitely looking out for the Rakdos and Bant, or Esper here. And then for fixing, we do have Esper. So we've got Esper. We do have a Bant fixer. We've got a couple cycling lands, which if you're playing monocolor, sometimes 2-color, they can be all right. So depending on what we end up in, we can decide if we need the card advantage. Obviously, you don't want to be playing tap lands in your aggro deck. We have Grixis, which can work for this as a red-black land, and then Naya. So, we've got a little bit of fixing for all of our different archetypes, so let's see what we get. Let's see here. What do we have the least of? Typically, if you end up with a small amount of a specific color, you're usually not going to end up in that color, so. Definitely feels like we have a lot of black cards, which is good, considering 2 of the archetypes we're already looking at for the multicolors are black. Decent chunk of green. So white looks like it's the least. So let's take a look and see what we got. Javelineers, 1 mana 1/1. You can ping 1 time. Doesn't really excite me at all, to be honest. Especially in sealed, where it's usually a grindier format. Wrath of God, you'll play that in every sealed deck you ever have. So that's obviously a reason to be in white. That's possibly a splashable card. Double white's obviously really rough, but I don't love it. Oromancer, really good with Zur, you know. So if we can get enough enchantments, we'll throw that in that pile, because you're not going to play that in any of these other archetypes we're building. Nomad's Decoy. I mean, if you can pay 2 mana to have 2 creatures each turn, that's pretty sweet. More playable than that. Remedy, terrible. I mean, preventing 5 damage. Pretty mediocre combat trick. White Mane Lion, pretty cool with some flicker stuff. 2 Savannah Lions, 2 mana or 1 mana 2/1s don't excite me at all. The Gargoyle, 6 mana 3/3 flying first strike. Whenever it deals damage, you gain that much life. I mean, if you can enchant that and give it some power. So, you know, we have a shell, a very rough shell for this, but I mean, we don't have any white enchantments. So really not looking good for Zur. Radiant Judgment's fine. So, you know, maybe you end up splashing white for, you know, some really niche stuff here. But I'm not in love with that. So we'll kind of set that to the side. So if we find more stuff that go with enchantments, I'm pretty much never playing any of these. I mean, maybe through like a really low to the ground aggro deck, you consider Savannah. Like, those are 3 decent 1-drops, but you need a lot of low to the ground stuff to make aggro work and sealed. Typically not a great idea. Next, let's look at blue, I guess. See if we can get any blue enchantments. Mystic Remora can be alright in sealed. You know, it really depends. It's an enchantment. So let's find our enchantments. 1, 2, 3. 3 enchantments. I mean, we're kind of going out of order here, but if we can find some black enchantments, which, oh no. Yeah, this is not going to work. I'm sorry, just not great. The only things that I'm really going to splash out of this pile, it would be the Radiant Judgment is splashable because it has cycling. If we end up, I mean, God, not loving it. So let's keep looking here. And since we're not really considering white, we're not going to really splash Arcady, so we can disregard that. And then since we're not going enchantments, we can push aside the Thran Golem. So, Remora, I don't mind, you know, 1 mana, cumulative upkeep. So every turn, you know, first turn you play it. At the beginning of your next upkeep, you put a counter on it. So that pays 1 mana. The next turn you pay 2 and then 3, and it just keeps counting up. I mean, for 1 mana, if you draw more than 1 card off it, it's pretty great. A lot of times your opponents in 1v1, they just won't cast into it. You know, it's not like they're going to be playing Storm or anything. And if you draw, it's a really bad top deck, so I don't love it here. Hermetic Study is pretty decent, depending on how many X1s your opponents have. It makes attacking and blocking really awkward. Don't love auras because you try to equip this to a creature and they blow it up in response. You're going to feel pretty bad. And then also anything where you're tapping a creature, you're not attacking or blocking. Well, you can block and then tap or fight as vigilance, but it's okay. Leaden Fist, decent removal spell. If it's got flash, it taps a creature down. Oh no, it doesn't even tap it. Oh, I misread that. And you can do some stuff where you attack and then pump your own creature, but then it doesn't attack. I mean, these both really need a vigilance creature. So again, a couple of cards I'm just not really excited about. I mean, I should mention too that with Hermetic Study, let's move this over. It's kind of bad glare. With Hermetic Study, it's really good with Death Touch too because it turns it into a Death Beam. Floodgate. You got to be playing mono blue to be playing Floodgate, so don't love blue either. Not looking great here. Impulse, decent card selection. Yeah, Impulse is fine. I'd play it if I had enough blue stuff. Cloud of Fairies. Again, it's okay here. You don't really get much value out of it in this format since you don't really have any lands that tap for more than 1, or not a lot of. I mean, we don't have any counter spells. So don't love it. Fact or Fiction is that's a card you'll splash. I mean, worst case scenario, it's 3 mana, draw 3 card, or 4 mana, draw 3 at instant speed. Fills your graveyard, does pretty much everything you want it to. Glintwing Enforcer, 5 mana, 3/3, pay 8 to give it +3/+3 and flying. 8 mana is a ton for I mean, most of the time it's a 5 mana, 3/3, so probably wouldn't play that. This card, I'm not even going to, if you ever see this card, just don't play it. Just don't play it. Just don't play it. It's easy. We're just going to put those to the side. We're never playing those. Ovenize is a decent combat trick. I mean, it removes all their abilities, makes it a 0/1. I mean, you win any combat where you get them in response, so it's okay. Frantic Search, don't love it in limited either. I mean, once you're in a cube, card disadvantage. Again, you don't have any lands you can really abuse. And then Snap is okay. I mean, none of this besides Fact or Fiction really drives me into blue, so I'm thinking we're going to hold on to the Fact or Fiction for a splash maybe, but because we do have one more here. We do have a couple of these, and we have 3 blue of these layers, which makes splashing a blue card a lot easier, which is always nice. But yeah, definitely not going to be maining blue here, and we can disregard this too, since we're not going to be playing that, since we're totally off white. Alright. So let's look at green here, because I'm still pretty hoping that red-black is going to be where we end up, because we don't have a ton of green here. Rada doesn't really inspire much hope. Battlefield Scrounger. So it's a 5 mana 3/3 with Threshold. So this only has anything if you have 7 cards in your graveyard, which is pretty tough without like fetch lands or self-mill or something. So put 3 cards from your graveyard on the bottom of your library, and you give him +3/+3, but then he loses threat. I mean, that's terrible. Deadwood Treefolk. 6 mana, 3/6 with Vanishing 3, so it enters the battlefield with 3 time counters at the beginning of your upkeep. You remove a time counter, and whenever it enters or leaves the battlefield, you return another creature from your graveyard to your hand. I mean, that's pretty, I mean, for value-wise, that's pretty decent. If you can flicker it, because there is some flicker on the set, so I'm not mad about that. Lull. Lull. L-U-L. Prevent all combat damage that be dealt this turn with cycling. Usually I don't like fogs at all. I mean, cycling definitely helps. And the only time I really would play it in limited is if it was a one-sided one where you only prevent your opponent's damage. Something like Prismatic Strands, potentially. So not in love with that, but not totally unplayable. 3 mana, 1/2, untap a land. But you can untap 3 lands if you have Threshold. I mean, very powerful. I mean, if you can get that. Doesn't actually fix your mana unless you have like one of these in play. Then you can like tap for green, untap, tap for red. It's okay. Definitely not on the same power level as these. Penumbra Bobcat. 3 mana, 2/1. When it dies, create a 2/1. Yeah, that's just staple filler. If you're playing green, you'll play it, and it'll trade, and yeah. Fidaya Seer is actually pretty sweet with Threshold here, because it either draws you lands or it puts stuff in your yard. And Fact or Fiction obviously is great with Threshold too, because you'll end up filling a bunch of stuff there. So that's fine here. That's in the same pile as like if you can. This is our if we get Threshold pile, which right now it's not, terrible. Alright, Gamekeeper. 4 mana 2/2, yuck. When it dies, you may exile it. If you do, reveal a card from the top of your library until you reveal a creature card. Put that card onto the battlefield and all the rest in your graveyard. Oh, yeah, that is a Threshold beast. I'm sorry. That's sweet. So, yeah, if we can get Threshold, that's pretty good. 3 mana, enchant, +2/+2. If you have Threshold, it's a lure, so every creature has to block it. That's not the best payoff. I mean, even if it didn't have Threshold and it just had that ability, it would still only be alright. I'm off it. It's likely to play that as lure. Wild Dogs. We got a 1 mana 2/1. Okay. don't love that. At the beginning of upkeep, if a player has more life than each other player... Wait, no, just my brain just went zip on that. At the beginning of your upkeep, if a player has more life than each other player, the player with the most life gains control of wild dogs. So if you're playing it in an aggro deck... Okay, but if you lose... I know, that's... I mean, it's cycling's fine because it gets stuff in your yard, but I don't want that. Now, this is... That's a snap play. Big old beefy card, fills your yard, hits your land drops, threshold. We're skipping our wild dogs here. Terravore. 3 mana XX, trample, creature Lurgoyf, power and toughness equal to the number of lands in all graveyards. I mean, if you can cycle some stuff, but we don't have any base green or blue cycling lands. If you get threshold, it can be okay. I mean, lull and symbiotic beast. 6 mana 4/4 when it dies, create 4 1/1s. Yep, that's exactly what you want to be ramping into. Alright, so green's okay. 8 playable green cards. You want to play 17 lands typically. That leaves 23, so we would need a pretty heavy secondary color because Rada, I mean, if we're red, we can go Rada potentially. What are green blue? We have 1 Bant, and of course the one that's white. We're not playing white, so this pool is quite bad. I mean, these red-black is going to have to save us because this backup plan is not where I want to be with our deck right now. Alright, let's just stick this over here. This is our plan B. So red-black, what do we have for fixing? We have Grixis. So that lets us splash. And this is blue-black, so essentially just a black land. So Factor Fiction can be included because I'm very happy to be playing mana here. So red-black, we've got our 2 uncommon and unrare that we'll be playing. And, I mean... Okay. Oh, great start here. So, Phyrexian Rager, 3 mana, 2/2, enter the battlefield, lose life, draw a card. I'll play as many of those as they give me, so here's 2 to start. Hyaleptrus Lemur. 5 mana, 4/3, activated ability, 0 mana, and you can basically make him a 3/3 flyer. That's meh to okay. I mean, if it's upside down, I'll say maybe. And I guess this is really a maybe too, depending on if we get goblins. Ichor Slick is very good. 3 mana, sorcery. Target creature gets -3/-3. Okay, whatever. But you can cycle it, and it's got madness. So if you have 6 mana, you can cycle it, which triggers its own madness, and you can cast it and draw a card. So it's 6 mana, draw a card, -3/-3. So really versatile. Phyrexian Debaser. 4 mana, 2/2 flyer. But you can sack it to give a creature -2/-2. It's fine. It's fine. Oh, Street Wraith. Oh, actually, I've got 2 Street Wraiths in our green threshold deck. I'm definitely playing the Street Wraiths. Just as free spells to fill up the yard and draw a card. Yeah. So I'll play that in any deck, really. Especially if it's black. Duress, fine sideboard card. Dark Withering, 6 mana, instant, destroy a non-black creature. Meh. But it's got madness for once. If you ever can discard this and cast it, for 1, that card is insane. Another Debaser, sure. Howl from Beyond is an interesting combat trick. X and a black. Target creature gets +X/+0, so it's a mana sink, can end of the game out of nowhere. Okay, it's fine. Nightscape Familiar, awesome. 2 mana, 1/1, you can regenerate it, so it's really hard to kill if you hold up 2 mana, and it reduces the cost of your blue and red spells. So since we're looking at being black-red already, that's a definite must. Terror, 2 mana, kill a creature that's not artifact. I mean, we don't worry about artifacts and non-black. Play that every single time. Urborg Uprising. 5 mana, sorcery. Return 2 creatures from your graveyard to hand and draw a card. Imagine cycle 2 Street Race, draw 2 cards, cast this, bring them both back, draw a card off this. Oh man, living the dream. And we got a Necrosavant. 6 mana, 3 and 3 black, 5/5. You can pay 5 and sack it, or no, sacrifice any creature to return this from the graveyard to the battlefield, but only during your upkeep. Yeah, that's sick. That's sick. So yeah, I mean, not looking good for the Goblin Lord. And I'm not loving the Heptalyptus, whatever, Eucalyptus tree. And then Howl is not high on my list either. I will definitely play the Polluted Mire. These piles are a little weird. And yeah, Fact or Fiction, I'll play that. So let's see, can we get the red to finish this deck out and end up with a decent deck? Spark Spray. 1 mana, deal damage to a target. You wouldn't normally play that, but for cycling for 1, makes it really versatile. Can win combat in a lot of ways, or not win combat, trade in combat, or if you just top deck it, you can fill up the yard with something, which can be useful. So yeah, I'm happy with that. I'll get this out of the way here. Let me get my piles fixed so you guys can have a little bit of an aesthetic view on this. If everyone's still watching this, you're insane. You're the coolest person. Alright. Yeah, these black cards are so much better than all of our Bant nonsense, although definitely would like to play Wrath of God. Alright. And because we're more of a controlling deck with all this removal spells and, you know, Ragers, 2-for-1s, removal, I don't mind playing these tap lands. Flame Tongue Kavu. For anyone who doesn't know, this was one of the most dominant cards in Standard when it came out. 4 mana, 4/2, but when it enters the battlefield, 4 damage to a creature. You'll play... I'd play a deck that's mono red, 17 lands, 23 Kavu. And yeah, that'd be the best deck of all time. Goblin Matron. Do we have any goblins at all? Ragers, not a goblin. Not a goblin. Nope. Nope. We have 0 goblins. Alright. Alright. Ridgetop Raptor. 4 mana, 2/1 double strike. And we have no ways that I see to pump it, so we're not playing that. 3 mana, Sukada Lancer. 3 mana, 2/2. Man, haste. Okay. Not really an aggro deck, but, you know, that's okay. And then flanking, so if someone blocks it, they lose -1/-1. That's... I mean, you don't hate that. You know, it's fine. That's a possibility. Subterranean Scout. Let's see. 2 mana. We do need a 2-drop really bad. When it enters the battlefield, target creature with power 2 or less can't be blocked. Okay. Well, maybe we don't need it. I guess it can make our Ragers unblockable, our Nightscape, our Debasers, which are already flying. I mean, it's okay. If we really need a 2-drop. Coal Stoker. 4 mana, 3/3. And if you cast from your hand, you add triple red in our mostly black deck. And you can't reanimate it or abuse it or flicker it. Yeah, I don't think so, buddy. Dragon Whelp. Now that is a card. If you guys don't know, Dragon Whelp is a 4 mana, 2/3 flyer. And you can pay 1 red mana to give it +1/+0. But if you activate it 4 times or more in a turn, you sacrifice that at the end of the turn. Yeah, really powerful card. Ends games real quick. Alright. Macetail Hystrodon. 7 mana, 4/4 Yuck. First strike, haste. With cycling 3. I mean, it's a top end, but we really need more top end. We're kind of a tempo deck, really. Removal spells, 2-for-1s. I'm never going to be holding up 3 mana to cycle. If I'm just going to do that, I'd rather just play a 2 mana cycle. I mean, it's okay. It's about in this pile. I won't put it right with these. Yeah. Undying Rage. 3 mana enchantment, or here's all our enchantments. Enchanted creature gets +2/+2, can't block, yuck. But if it's put into the graveyard from the battlefield, return it to your hand. I don't think we're quite aggro enough to want that. And making our creatures not be able to block is pretty bad. Dedapult. That's a name. 3-mana enchantment. Another enchantment. And Zer's crying. Both of my Zers are crying right now. Pay 1 red, sack a zombie, deals 2 damage to any target. We have 1. The Ragers aren't zombies. Pyre zombie. That's 1, 2, 3. Yeah, I don't think. I mean, if we had a ton of goblins, we could play that enchantment, which turns all our goblins into zombies, but I don't think so, buddy. Solar Blast. 4 mana, instant, deals 3 to any target. Oh, that alone we would play. And then it's got cycling for 1 and 2 red. And when you cycle it deals a damage. Yeah, that's easy play. And we have Ember Beast, 3 mana, 3/4, can't attack or block alone. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 creatures. I don't know. Don't love it. Alright, so that leaves us with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. Only 18 playables. Yikes. Let's see what else we missed here potentially. I don't really want to be splashing anything else. Rada's not super splashable. You want to be playing your Mana Dorks early, obviously. Do we want to play Mind Stone? And I'd probably play Juggernaut over some of these other more expensive spells we have. Can't really splash Wrath of God. Are we a crawl space deck? We have our cool swamp too. And our zombie token. I think we have something that makes zombies. No mountains. Do we have anything that makes tokens? No. Okay. Well, never mind then. I mean, because we're kind of a removal deck, I think this might actually be a cross-based deck. You know, we play a couple flyers, you know, debasers and the whelps or whatever. Yeah, sure. Let's make a cross-based deck. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. And I guess we'll play our Lemur as another flyer. Don't love it. 21, 22. And we'll just play the Subterranean Scout as a 2-mana spell. We could play Duress, but that's really not a good feeling. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. All right. So our black sources, black and red, red. And this is basically a blue and black. So yeah, and then decent curve. These are, 0 mana spells. I'm just sorting by color here, so that way you can figure out how much of each color mana you need. Wow, this is a long video. I'm happy for anyone who's still here. One of each. So we have 1 blue, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 red, 7 red, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. And we have these two 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That means we need 11 more lands. I'd probably do 4 more red, 7 more swamps, and call it a deck. Well, that is how I would build this sealed puzzle. Maybe you play one island over one of the mountains. I mean, you've got the cyclers to get to your layers quicker, but and then having these to bounce these back to your hands to cycle them later. Yeah, not the best sealed deck, but I think we did the best with what we could. And if you guys would have done anything different, let me know. And thanks for checking out the video.